of chatter going on in our heads about why it's not okay for us to be taking the time and to really investing in ourselves. So, there are a ton of reasons. I'm sure you guys have other reasons that you're thinking of too, but I believe that they all come down to fear, the reasons why we don't do this. Has anyone ever heard of the book Conversations with God? Yeah. So the really self-actualized woman right there. Makes sense. He writes about this idea that everything we do in our lives, every decision we make, is either based on fear or on love. And I remember when I read that, and it seemed so simple, but when I thought about it and I started thinking about my own life, I really discovered it's absolutely true. And that was a big game changer for me. So if you think about the decisions that you've made, so many of our decisions are made from a place of fear. We take a job because we're afraid that, if we don't take this job, then, we won't be able to pay our mortgage. Or we buy a certain thing because we're afraid people will think that we don't have money if we don't buy that. Or we go to an event we don't really want to go to because our friend might be upset. So fear is kind of an underlying thing. A lot of us have fear surrounding our kids. I do constantly, like I'm going to screw him up if I don't do this, or if he doesn't go to this school, or, it's kind of this continual thing. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And then, of course, there are decisions that are made from love. We make a lot of decisions based on love around our kids especially. I mean, the decision to have them hopefully was a decision made in love. Caring for a sick friend, there's a lot of things that we do based in love as well. But as it turns out, it's not just decisions that are based in fear and love, it's kind of every aspect of our lives. And so just like there are two parts of our motivators for decisions, there's also two parts of us, like as people. There's the social self. The social self is the fear piece. The social self is the part of us that cares about what other people think of us. It's the place that, and it's not always a bad thing, I should say. It's also fight or flight response. It's the part that keeps us safe. It's the part that makes sure we pay our bills on time so we don't get kicked out or our telephone doesn't get turned off. It's an important part of who we are. But it's also the part that really cares about what other people think. And then there is the essential self, which is what our kids are living right now. The essential self could care less about the ego and the social self. The essential self is all about experience. It's all about following the feel good. It's all about really seeking out joy and happiness. And so when we're young kids, like this girl, like many of our kids here, like my son when he's, listening to Star Wars and doing Legos, that is pure essential self. They're not thinking about what they should be doing or shouldn't be doing. They're not thinking about, well, gosh, Brody might think I look really dorky doing this. It's just not, it doesn't enter their conversation. But as we get older, and those of you who have tweens and teens, you see this happening, the ego starts playing a bigger and bigger role. And so by the time we're our age here, oftentimes the social self, or social self is just running the show. We are all social self, we're all ego, and that's not to say we're egomaniacs, but we're just really so caught up in who we are kind of externally that our essential self, that kind of, if you believe in a soul, that's what I think of the essential self, that kind of a core part of who you are without your personality or without your outward appearance. That part of many of us does not even have a voice anymore. And so that's why I wanted to ask you guys, to reflect on something you did when you were younger, because you can kind of tap into that feeling a little bit when you do that. I really think that as moms, we owe it to each other to really show up and be ourselves. It does give permission for other moms to do the same. We all have our own stuff we're dealing with, and it's hard being a parent, and the more we can connect with that part of us and let others see it, and then, oh, that's okay for me to do that too, or bring them along with you, the better. I think everyone benefits from that.